Hey folks, hey, welcome to Safe Schools. I'm Curtis Graves.
And I'm Andy Howard.
We are here today with some very lively but interesting guests with some real good information. And we're going to be talking about Yes to the Test. Andy, what do you know about Yes to the Test?
Well, I think it's got something to do with me getting a drug test if I go to school.
Well,
is that a good thing for me?
It's a little bit more than that, man. It's a lot more than that.
So maybe these guys can help us with that?
Well, they're going to let us know, and they're going to let the audience know about this. And who we have with us, we have Mr. Larry Mouton. He is the Director of Workforce Development for Mobile County Public Schools. And we also have with us Doug Daniels. He's the Business Manager of Client Services for the Occupational Health Center here in Mobile. Guys, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you guys coming. We'll be back in just a moment.
So, Nicholas, how was your day at school today?
It was great. We had fun in class today.
So, what did you do differently today at school? I mean, any new projects?
We got a progress report today.
You got your progress reports today? So, how did you do?
Don't know.
You don't know. That's okay. We can check that right here. Wow. Nicholas.
It started for me when I went into the first grade, and then I went on to George Hall Elementary School, and from there to Williamson, where I graduated. The public school system, it had a great impact on me because not only did it prepare me academically for my future career, but it also prepared me for life. Because of its diversity of students and teachers, it really gave me a well-rounded education.
Hey, and we're back. Let's start off first saying this. Would you guys agree that schools are a reflection of our communities, and what affects our community also affects the educational process?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you agree with that? And let's kind of talk about that and how Yes to the Test encompasses that. Mr. Mouton, Larry, I can call you Larry,
Sure,
right?
please.
Larry, tell us a little bit about Yes to the Test.
Sure, absolutely. My job is workforce development and career and technical education. So what I've been charged with by the citizens of this county are to prepare students to transition into the workforce or into college. So we want to make sure that students have everything, every skill set they need in order to be successful post-secondary. A part of that is making sure they're drug-free. Business and industry has told us that that's a tremendous concern for them.
Sure.
A lot of interviewees come in, may qualify for the job, but fail the drug test.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that our students understand that in order to be successful in the business world, you have to be drug-free.
Tell me who's eligible to participate in the Yes to the Test program?
Sure, this is high school students. All high school students in Mobile County Public Schools are qualified if they fit one of these criteria. If they drive on campus, so if they have a parking permit, because we're very concerned about safety on campus, if they're in an extracurricular activity, which includes sports or clubs, or if they volunteer, or as we say, opt into the program.
Okay. All right, Andy?
How might one opt into the program?
That's a good question. You know, actually at any time a parent could opt in by calling the school and coming in and filling out an application. You know, before school started during registration, we had individuals from the Mobile Drug Education Council came to all the schools and set up a table and had the parents the opportunity to sign up and opt in for their student. Also at the schools, we've given out forms to the students that they can bring home and get their parents to sign. It's important to understand that both the parent and the student have to sign that consent form to agree, because we want it to be both a decision that the parent and the student have discussed and that they agree that this is the best thing for their career and for their success.
Right. Doug, how are you participating in Yes to the Test program?
Well, we've been working with the Drug Education Council for about 8 years on different projects in the community. The big part of what we're involved in through our program is working with the companies. And just like Larry said, I think the companies are really looking for individuals that are coming out of schools that can start to work immediately.
Right.
But a big part of that is passing a pre-employment drug test. And they don't have that opportunity to prepare for that somewhat in school. And I think it's very important, if you've got a program like this in place, it gives the student the ability to say no if they're ever enticed by their peers or offered drugs or alcohol when they're in this program. They actually have a reason to say no. So we're trying to work with the students to educate them the importance of staying drug-free through high school, but also once they get into the workplace, this is going to be something that's going to be a part of their life from that point on, not just in the pre-employment, but of course as you go on with random drug testing through the companies, and any kind of an incident that may be involved could require post-accident drug testing also. So it's very important that they stay drug-free throughout their school career as well into the workforce.
You know, I would imagine that, and you guys both can probably answer this question for me, that there are quite a few people in the Mobile area that are looking for employment, young and old alike. But one dilemma that we have, and I know Larry's already talked about this, is just the fact that people can't pass a drug test. In fact, I spoke with a person recently who told me that a 50-year-old guy lost his job in one of the local industries here because he was smoking spice.
Right.
I mean, this is an older guy. So imagine, I mean, where are the kids at in all of this and their thinking?
Well, it's the same thing. You know, we're testing for drugs of opportunity and that they have access to. The ones that most people think about, of course, is cocaine and marijuana, but also there's prescription medications and abuse of prescription medications. But the ones that I think everybody's really concerned about is the K2 or the spice.
Right.
And that is one of the ones that we're testing for also. And again, the Drug Education Council is doing a lot to help educate the students. And Coach King, Larry King, is going out to all the schools, talking to all the ninth graders in the school system and educating them about the hazards of all drugs, but are really educating them as much about the K2 and spice, which is a synthetic poison is what it is.
And Larry's pretty passionate about, I mean, Terry, I'm sorry,
Oh, Terry King.
Larry, you are too. But Terry King is very passionate about education and kids. He's a retired school principal, assistant principal in the school system.
Correct.
And teacher. So the fact that he's working with you guys right now just says a lot about his concern for the educational environment.
Absolutely. It really helps the integrity of our program, have somebody like him out in the field actually educating and getting the awareness of it. And I think that's getting the kids more interested and involved. And again, it's a reason for them to say no if they're asked. You know, if I'm in an extracurricular driving, I sure don't want to run the risk of losing that ability to be in those or lose the possibility of driving. So actually having a reason to say no to help support that cause is very important.
And even as a student, just coming to school and being clear-headed.
Right. Oh, absolutely. The benefits are incredible, of course, but that is one of the benefits for sure.
And certainly the athlete as well. You know, I as a parent had a college athlete student. My child was a college athlete, and I noticed that, you know, the NCAA has a lot of drug testing going on with those college athletes. So kids who are young athletes need to know, even as a high school athlete, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. It'll carry through on all aspects of the career path, whether it's professional sports, any kind of work, trade schools, all those are looking for drug-free individuals to go into those fields.
$100 question, guys. Now, Larry, is there a cost for students or for parents for participating in the testing program?
No, there's not.
Okay.
You know, this is something that's funded through the school system as well as through the Drug Education Council and business and industry partners. You know, drug tests cost, you know, they can cost up to $40 per drug test depending upon whether there was a positive on the test, et cetera. And that cost is something obviously we don't want to burden parents with, because this is a great service for our community and parents. And I want to go on to say that not only is there no cost, but there's no real repercussion to the student insofar as them losing opportunities at school. You know, we're in the business of educating students and making sure, as Doug said, that there's an opportunity for a student to say, hey, I'm going to be drug tested, so I'm not going to participate. But if a student does participate and does come up a positive, we do not say you're off the football team or you can't, you know, engage in this club. What we do is we put that student on probation, and that student has to go to an intervention, whether it be at the drug council or another private industry, where they seek out counseling, then bring proof of that counseling back to the school, and where we can monitor and make sure that student is following the right path and make sure they have that support they need at school. Because the last thing we want to do is take a student out of a support group like an athletic organization or a club. So we want to make sure that the student has all the support they can, including, if they're made a bad decision, the support on the outside of drug counseling and intervention.
We're going to take a brief break and we'll be back in just a moment.
Diesel is a very big industry, and I went into it in a 2-year program at the Bryant Career Tech with Tony Tillman.
When Jacob graduated from the Bryant Career Center, he had earned his diesel credential.
The Career Technical Center taught me a lot, all the way from not knowing anything about a motor or engine to knowing pretty much every single moving part of them.
MCPSS Career Tech. Start your future today.
The quality of education that I received from the Mobile County Public School System really prepared me for global success. Being an international opera singer, I get to travel all across the world. And one of the most important aspects about that is being able to communicate and work with people. And the Mobile County Public School System really equipped me to be greatly successful worldwide.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Let's switch to Energy Star light bulbs and stop burning through cash. Saving energy saves you money.
And we're back. Doug, just had a question reference. Okay, you know, we talked about the actual concept and that we're going to be doing this. How does this actually happen when you guys come out to the school, and what happens when you get here?
Right, we come out to the school, we have contacts in the school. Again, the confidentiality of when the test is going to take place or the dates and times are confidential so that no one will have any heads up about it. Again, we notify certain contacts when we get there. We secure the location to ensure the integrity of the drug testing program and the results, to keep from allowing individuals to tamper with it. We use standards set forth by Department of Transportation. They give us good guidance on what we can and can't do, again, to ensure the integrity of privacy for the individual and confidentiality of what's taking place. So we have a certified collector that comes and does the collections. They're not observed. They go into the bathroom by themselves. There is a chaperone in the collection area to ensure, again, the integrity of what's taking place and what is said. Once that process takes place, they do an initial emit screen on it to eliminate negative drug test. At that point, if it is something found in it, it's considered a non-negative. It is then gathered up and sent to a lab for confirmation. So again, these results are 100% confidence in the result themselves through the GCMS confirmation process. Once those results come back, we get the demographics from the school contact of who to contact, and it's either their parent or the legal guardian.
Okay.
And then the medical review officer is the individual that sees those results. So once he receives those results, he communicates with the parent or guardian at that time and discusses the results with them. And we've had great feedback from all the parents that we've discussed this with. They want to know the results. They ask what they can do, and of course they're referred back through the school system that they will communicate with them. So again, the confidentiality of the results are very important. So if something starts out as a negative and they do have a valid prescription, the school never finds out that someone is taking a prescription medication the way they're supposed to.
Question for you too.
Yes.
What's the degree of accuracy in the testing process?
It's 100% accurate,
100%, okay.
right. When we do those initial screens, we're looking for specific metabolites of the different drugs that we're testing for. And if they're negative, then we know that that's a negative drug test. If it shows up as a non-negative, then it is collected and it's sent to a lab for where further confirmation is required.
Okay. Larry, how many students, if you can answer this, you may not, I don't know, hopefully you can, how many students have participated in past years in the program?
Sure, we've had great success. You know, we've been doing this drug testing for 4 years, and last year we had about 80%, we had over 90% students participating in several of the schools. Some of the schools, you know, we had very high participation because they have a lot of drivers on campus, a lot of extracurricular activities, and a lot of volunteers. Some of the schools, we were around 70% because they may not have had as many drivers on campus, and the parents weren't necessarily as involved in knowing that this was available for them. So a show like this will give them the opportunity to learn about it so that they can also enroll their students.
Well, all that tells me too that there's been good parent buy-in
Oh,
for the program.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So when a parent, like you mentioned that you had, let's say a non-negative. If a non-negative comes back and then we, as you said, discreetly and appropriately notify who needs to know and only who needs to know, what resources would we make avail to them?
When I'm notified that the test was positive, then I communicate to the principal. And the principal will call the parent in to have a conference with the parent and the student. If the student is an athlete, we'll probably bring in a coach and the counselor to meet with them as well, so that we can all be on the same page and make sure we're offering the student help. The drug council, as I say, they have a great families program, so we encourage them to participate in that. That's a free program, and many programs, and most programs are free and available. And so that the student can, the family can work together, because it's not just about the student. It's about creating a culture in the home of communication and knowledge. That's what we're looking for. We want the parent to be involved, because as students get older, sometimes the students and the parents' relationship wanes. So we want to make sure that the parents are back involved in their child's life so they can know exactly what to do. And we have experts like at the Drug Council that can help them out.
And sometimes that's exactly how it ends up with parents finding out what's going on, is because we end up saying, hey, let's talk.
Right.
And once that happens, maybe we can share some things
another
that will
opportunity,
help them.
we talked about the cost earlier. If indeed you're interested, you can go to the Drug Council and actually receive a free drug test there, or bring your child down there and do a drug test at the Drug Council. So there's another option for parents who are interested, in intervention.
Doug, were you asked a question earlier by Andy about the number of substances or the types of substances that are tested during this process?
Was not, but we're testing for 11 different drugs. It's called an 11 panel. And again, we're going after the drugs of most abuse and availability, either through your medicine cabinets at home or, of course, available on the streets. And they include THC, which is your marijuana, cocaine, opiates, amphetamines, methamphetamines, and then there's some prescription medications, and as I mentioned again, K2, and also MDMA, which is an ecstasy panel. And again, those are the drugs that there are more opportunity and other people may find in their parents' medicine cabinet, or a grandparents' or a friend's medicine cabinet. So it's very important that you test for those where there's availability of them.
That's a big old concern, the things that are out there that people can misuse.
Right, and they might not even know that it's missing. And again, there's value to them if they're taking them to school and selling them or trading them, and we hope that doesn't take place. But again, they're having access to it somewhere, and so again, this is just an avenue for a student to say, hey, I don't want to try to take an advantage. I don't want to try this. I've got too much at stake with my extracurricular or driving on campus.
Well, you have a busy job. I would imagine both of you guys actually, but you especially, given the number of substances, synthetic substances that are always coming out, the chemical compounds being changed and all. In an earlier show with the chief of police, we were talking about a substance called AB Pinaka. I don't know if you know what that is or not.
I'm not familiar, but again, with the synthetics, the way the market is, and again, the availability and the desire for something different that might not can be tested, there's always a chasing game of, as soon as they do something to test for it, someone else will change the chemical makeup of it again, so that it makes it harder to test for. And that's the same thing with any synthetic drug, such as K2. There's several different variations of it, and they just change it slightly to make it more difficult to detect. So there's always new and changing drugs that are coming out. But again, your standards are always going to be there, your marijuana, cocaine, and your prescription medications, of course.
We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back with you.
Smartboard, that's right. So, Nicholas, how was your day at school today?
It was great. We had fun in class today.
So, what did you do differently today at school? I mean, anything, any new projects?
We got a progress report today.
You got your progress reports today? So, how did you do?
Don't know.
You don't know. That's okay. We can check that right here. Wow. Nicholas.
I'm Ashley Rich, Mobile County District Attorney. The failure to obey school bus safety laws will cost you. It can cost you up to a $3,000 fine and the loss of your driving privileges.
But more than that, it could cost the life of a child. That's why the Mobile County Public School System is urging you to stop and obey all bus traffic laws. Hi, I'm Pat Mitchell, Director of Transportation for the Mobile County Public School System. We're asking you to obey all bus safety laws. It could save a life. Remember, stop ahead when you see red. Our future depends on it.
And we're back. Mr. Mouton, we were talking while on break about your success. You've had about 4 years now to kind of get a feel for what's going on and what we're doing. Can you comment on that?
Sure, absolutely. When we first started the program, we had very limited. We piloted with 4 schools, and we didn't have a lot of engagement necessarily. It was a new thing. There was some resistance, and so we had to educate parents in the community about the value of drug testing. Over the last several years, we've increased, as I said earlier, to on average about 70% of the students in Mobile County Public Schools, high schools, are in this testing pool. Okay. In some schools it's much, much higher. I think it was 94% at Viger this year. It was very high. And so of those kids, we're testing them, and this is an industry standard test. And in that test, only about 4.5% to 5% of the students test positive. Now, that's 5% more than I'd like to test positive, but it's a lot less than we anticipated to be coming into it. And when I talk to business and industry, they expect it to be a lot higher as well. The media portrays the drug culture in the schools, etc., but your average kid is not engaged in these behaviors, and we want to make sure it stays that way. Now, the reality of it is, once a student gets out of school and graduates, students who don't go directly into the workplace or directly into college maybe get dead-end jobs or get discouraged.
Underemployed, unemployed.
Absolutely. They get discouraged and may start using drugs on a more regular basis. And Doug can attest to that the percentage of people who test positive on pre-employment is very high. So we're looking for in workforce development to make sure that our students have a good, strong educational foundation that equals to post-secondary success, and that they understand that a very, very important part of that post-secondary success is being drug-free. Right. And I think Doug can maybe talk to the numbers a little bit about what's going on in the workplace.
I have another question attached to that conversation. And one is, I understand that the school district this year is looking to expand.
Absolutely.
Going to middle school to 8th grade?
8th grade, because we know that middle school students are not the middle school students of 20 years ago.
Right.
They're being pressured into doing things that when we were kids perhaps we wouldn't even have imagined. So it's important. We've always had a strong educational program in the middle schools, and the Drug Council has done a great job of getting out to middle school along with the Mobile Area Education Foundation and a lot of our business partners and working with the middle schools. But we want to move to that next level and start drug testing. So in October, parents can expect to get literature coming home for them to opt into drug testing.
Okay.
And this will be just voluntary. There won't be for extracurricular activities, etc., and it'll just be for 8th grade. But it'll be the same industry standard, the same process and procedures, and I know we'll have the same kind of success.
But that'll be another earlier opportunity for parents to know what's going on with their children if they wish to pursue that information, and we're making it available to them in the school.
Absolutely, because it's easy for us to do that in the school system. We have the children there, we have the opportunity. For parents, it's sometimes difficult, to either breach that subject or, again, just the availability of the opportunity to drug test their child. So I think it's a service that we can offer to the community, and I think everyone will benefit from it.
Well, it's a big education component to do that because, again, you want to teach kids good practices, and parents, and the more parental involvement that you guys have, the better. Doug, do you ever see any of the follow-up to some of the testing?
We conduct follow-up testing in the schools once they have tested positive. It's been confirmed. When we go back, we do a follow-up program with them. And again, we're seeing a good result from the follow-ups, that they are opting out of, or not opting out, but they are falling out of the follow-up program because they're positive, they're negative, and staying negative after that. It does take a little bit of time for it to metabolize out of their system, which we know that, and we're able to test and kind of check those levels. The most important thing is that, again, it's not a punitive penalty for the kids. Once they find out they've been caught, then they're going through this program and the education is taking place, then it's giving them a chance to get their get straight again. And I think that's what the program is all about.
Do you guys see, and either one of you can answer this question, do you see the program as a deterrent to other peer pressure issues that students find themselves participating in sometimes?
Well, I can tell, as a former principal and teacher, students who engage in at-risk behaviors are frequently engaging these behaviors in places they shouldn't be, whether it be skipping school, whether it be in an old abandoned building or on the side of the river, so they're engaging with people that they're buying the drugs from that are leading them to a negative culture.
Right.
So by staying away from drugs, you're staying away from a lot of the at-risk behaviors, whether it be drinking, smoking, or just a culture that does not create success.
Well, you mentioned earlier about them being involved in extracurricular activities as one of the standards by which we use to identify candidates to be tested. You just wonder if, the more involved they are within extracurricular activities and the standards that are required for you to participate, give them an opportunity to find constructive versus destructive ways to live.
Absolutely, and that's where the volunteer part is very, very important, the opting in, because I'm comfortable that students who are athletes, who are in JROTC, who are in career and technical education programs and clubs, those students have a less likelihood of engaging in at-risk behaviors such as drug use. And so I'm comfortable that those students do have the involvement of parents and leaders making good decisions. And that's why the opt-in is so important, because parents out there, we want the kids to be involved in everything, every sports, every club, everything they can on campus. But if they're not, let's go ahead and opt them in. Let's get them to be part of this culture of saying yes to the test and doing the right thing so that they can be successful when they get out of high school.
Last question for you, being a former principal and dealing with kids and parents, what advice would you want to give parents right now about the test and about being aware of the different signs that your child may be using drugs?
Absolutely. It is difficult to know, oh, is my child doing drugs? But it's always best to err on the side of caution. Again, if you have a change in behavior in your child, if they have different friends now, if they're hiding from you, then you should be concerned and you should contact the drug counsel. I think it's a great opportunity.
And with that, we are out of time. Folks, thank you for tuning in to us, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, Mr. Mouton. Thanks,
and
Mr.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank y'all. Appreciate it.
And good night.